Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you about a super duper cool up and coming artist named David Milan. Maybe you guys even follow him on Instagram, but he's a super cool young artist that hopefully you guys will enjoy. Who is he? He is a young, aspiring artist. He's originally from Spain, and he actually started when he was 15. He started to create graffiti art, and I'm not encouraging that because it can be illegal depending on where you create it. But he started when he was 15, experimenting with different graffiti arts and painting on walls illegally. And this is a picture of him on the left. He's an independent lettering artist, illustrator, and a designer. So those of you that are going or interested in like graphic design or love to kind of illustrate your own kind of characters or even are into like calligraphy or lettering, he's the perfect artist to help inspire you. He also works with bright colors and three-dimensional elements as well as bold textures. So even though he's super young and still is, he actually has really popular clients. So clients meaning these companies ask him to produce designs for them, which is really, really cool. So Facebook, Adobe, Pepsi, Huawei, I don't know what that is, Procreate, the Washington Post, NBC, MTV. So there's a lot of really cool companies that have actually asked him to create some of artwork for them. Here's one of his quotes. So when did you first find your love for lettering design? And I'm not saying that you guys will at such a young age either. It can take years before you actually find your love in designing or art if that's what you want to pursue. But he says, well, everything started when I was 15 years old as a graffiti writer. I started to feel some kind of love for the letters. Then I got into university and I left the graffiti aside, and until a couple years ago I started to make calligraphy and lettering again, and this is when my life begins. So here's a couple of his works. Maybe you've seen them around, but again, he does some things for Disney too. But just seeing how he uses such bright colors and his calligraphy is just really on point. But notice the words that he's also using too, right? That the future is here. That's something that's inspirational and kind of, you don't want to make that dark and gloomy and say the future is here. You want to make it nice and bright and stand out. And this one, it says the show must go on, which I think is really cool. It kind of looks like it's almost like a balloon. If you guys have ever done like those cartoon balloons or whatever that clowns make, that's kind of what that font reminds me of. Here's some more, right? Like I just talked about earlier this week about how words can be super powerful, and he's using words in his art to kind of portray something or mean something for his viewers. So on the image on the left, it says, we become what we think we are, which I think is very, very powerful, right? So we become what we think we are. So if you think you're a superhero or a rock star, absolutely, that's amazing. But if you think you're super weak and you can't do something, then that's obviously going to bring your mentality down. If you can't think that you can create art this semester, then I'm sorry, but you're going to be negative this whole semester. You need to be positive about what you want to do and what you want to create. So hopefully he will inspire you to make some really awesome things. This one again is for a magazine. It says a new voice for a new generation. So he didn't take the picture, but he created the font and the lettering on this. And this one says Carpe Diem. So what is his design process? How does he create his work of art? And his process is pretty basic, he says, but it's very similar to ours in what I just taught you guys last week, or maybe you've heard before about the creative process. But in his opinion, the hardest part is finding a good quote or a word, right? Because you want it to be meaningful. You don't want it to just be some random thing that you just found. But he takes, look at this, he spends hours looking for a good one. And once he has the text, he then starts to make sketches, not just a sketch, but sketches in different styles. After choosing the best one, I proceed to trace it with a marker, a brush, or digitally on a tablet. And finally, he puts the letter on a photo or an image, adding some effects. So why does this artist matter to you? Why am I teaching you guys about David Milan? Well, he's a young artist that uses the same creative process as us, using the same simple materials as paper and markers and pens. He uses Crayola just the same as us, and he creates some amazing artwork. He also gets inspired by other artists, and he seeks for that inspiration to continually grow as an artist. It also takes time, and it also takes practice. He started when he was 15, and look where he is now. You guys can start right now to really focus on your art and really dive into something creative and get your style where you want it to be. But looking just on the right, some of his designs for this custom rock music shop. So again, we're going to be making multiple designs of our pieces, okay? It's not just going to be one and done, okay? You should be sketching out different ideas and then picking the best one. What inspires his work? He says everything from my workspace to my music to even smells. And of course, as everyone, I get inspired from different websites, designers, and artists. If you guys are not creating a helpful workspace while you're at home and you're not putting in positive music or even lighting a candle, say your room is super messy and it smells like rotten food, then of course you're not going to be inspired to create art in that kind of environment. You need to make it positive and uplifting so that it can motivate you and inspire you. Even those of you that are scrolling on your social media of Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter, follow different artists. I think it's the best thing when you can be inspired by other people that maybe aren't even super famous. Like you guys probably haven't even heard of David Milan. I didn't until I researched him and came across him on Instagram. And so I think that's the best way for you guys to get inspiration from other artists. So how can he inspire your artwork? Well, you can think bright, you can think bold, which is my encouragement because I love colors, but maybe that's not you. But you can still think outside the box. You tell me if you've ever seen anyone else's artwork that looks like his, right? I have not personally, but there could be others, okay? But thinking outside the box gets you noticed by other people. It makes you become unique and create your own style. Taking feedback from this semester and then actually applying it to your artwork, you never know how much will impact your style. So when I say something to you that hopefully will suggest to get better, I'm expecting you to maybe even apply that or really consider using it because, I did go to college for this to become an art teacher so that I can give you guys advice, and it's up to you to actually use it, okay? Also, being intentional and meaningful behind your work. Yes, he gets paid to do some of his work, but he built up his portfolio of artwork by creating meaningful and then questionable work of art. Questionable meaning that when you look at his pieces, hopefully they motivate you and inspire you and kind of question, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing right now to make a difference? And lastly, his art makes you think about what you're seeing. Okay, so some of our projects might just be super easy kind of context and content based, like we'll make a color wheel or something like that, where yeah, you're not going to be super meaningful behind your work. But sometimes we are, and I'm going to ask you to draw something with leading lines or include something with shapes and perspective. And I really want you guys to be intentional about your artwork and make it meaningful, okay? That's how you can be inspired by him this semester, and I hope you learned a little bit about David Milan.